help desk classroom manager at Duke Law. And in that capacity, as you can tell, I wear a lot of hats. We're a small group, and we do a lot of work. In the course of an average calendar year, we serve somewhere between 10 and 11,000 tickets. And to break that down by months, of course, you know, in the summer we don't have that much business, and in the fall it hops a lot. And one of the things that I've been at Duke since July, and when I came to Duke had no formal help desk or system for dealing with customer support. Someone would send an email, someone would answer it eventually. So my first job was to create a help desk, and in doing so, create policies associated with the help desk. And that was a very interesting thing because Duke is rigid in some ways and not in others. In other words, we don't say no to anything. So one of my favorite stories to tell is I had a staff member delete her favorite song off her iPod. And when I got that request, I went to my boss and I said, I can just delete this, can't I? He said, no. I said, why not? And he said, well, go see what it is. And so I went, and so she needed this song because it helped her work better. It helped her feel better to do her work. So, you know, I had to find her song and put it back. And so, you know, and that's a typical thing in Duke. It's not unusual. I had a faculty member, he's at home, he can't get TurboTax installed, you know, somebody comes, I give fruit to the university every year, can't you come install it? So as you can see, we cover the gauntlet of what we support. We support everything. And then the rich side is that we don't say no, but we have very set policies about what we say yes about. So, for example, we only support Dell, we only support XP. We do support Vista for students. Oh, that's a little secret. So, but anyway, we mostly are a Dell XP shop, and you know, bringing in a computer from Gateway, I can say no to that. So, in creating the help desk, one of the things we did was look at solutions that would work for the law school and how those solutions best would work. And so, first thing we did, the academic campus uses a product called Remedy. Anybody familiar with Remedy? Oh, sorry, I didn't say that. It's a great product, great product. Anyway, but it was free. So free is always good. So we put Remedy on to our help desk point of contact computer, and eventually our IT analyst computers, and we use Remedy for tracking problems, for tracking user requests. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't say problem. User requests. And so, how many of you are help desk or in-user support? Yes, isn't life great? So, you know, one of the interesting things about being involved with help desk is the language that you use. So, and a lot of people can be sensitive about help desk. So, we don't call them problems, we call them user requests. So, that was a very interesting thing. So, in my presentation today, I hope to walk you through some of the things that we do, that we have success, and what workflow looks like at Duke Law with a few little variations. So,
Will we call the help desk?
yes, please call the help desk. So, I'm sure most of you are familiar with us. We are Duke Law. I had to say that. We have more than 600 students, more than 200 faculty and staff, and in a calendar year, and you'll see it says 9,000 tickets. And the reason why it's different from me, because a lot of times we don't have time to create the ticket, so we just go fix the problem and worry about the ticket later. So, with all of that information and all of those users with demands and needs, and the help desk at the law school, there are three full-time people. One person who spends some of his time in media services and some time at the help desk, and then we have a part-time person that works at night on Mondays and Wednesdays, and we have students occasionally. So that's the help desk. So to support the breadth of the work that we do, it takes all of those people and then some more. So projects sometimes are delayed, and user requests are sometimes delayed, and right now we don't have an SLA. We have no value for what it means from the time you call in and say that you have a problem to the time we can tell you someone will come. And so hopefully in the fall we we got permission to hire another person, so hopefully in the fall we will have someone that can address some of our SLA issues and give us a little better window at response time. So here I try to outline workflow. So everybody knows workflow is when you get a request, how you get the request resolved, and that process in its entirety. So workflow from start to finish. So a good example of workflow at the help desk at the law school or at classroom support is a call comes in or an email comes in. Someone has a problem and they need some assistance. So we have a couple ways to do that. Classrooms, it cannot be somebody has to get up and go right then at that point. It doesn't matter where you are because the faculty members are in there providing instructions, so they need someone who can come right now and fix the problem. I.e., I can't get my PowerPoint to load, there's no sound, the mic doesn't work, whatever it is, you have to go. So workflow at that point breaks down to its most rarest form of response, reaction, response, go. And when we come back, there was a user who left a message or an email that came in. So do we document that? No. Rarely are classroom incidents documented. So it's usually just a user had a problem in the classroom, we fix it, and there's no documentation. And I'm sure you could all see the problem with that because one, what was fixed or what was done is not documented, so we don't know how the technician fixed the problem. What did he do? Did he have to just bring up PowerPoint, or did he have to do something with equipment? Whatever it was. So and we have context. So it's a big production deal when something happens in the classroom. Whereas it's still a big deal when the faculty member has a problem, but it's also a big deal when his faculty assistant had a problem or the finance person had a problem. So prioritizing work is really hard. So when we think of workflow, the first bullet that we put on our page is how long will it take it to get done. And breaking that down to a concise number is something we have not managed to do. And I don't know how many of you have success with that. Anybody have a successful SLA process now in place? Good. I know I'm not alone. So it's really interesting trying to figure out how workflow can be implemented. So as we do this, we are constantly grappling with finding good solutions for workflow and defining workflow. And so in this process, Michael Wright, who you'll hear from in a little while, will describe his workflow process, and I'm hopefully describing ours, but I broke it down into some of the points of workflow, and I think you'll enjoy this little presentation. So this is my idea of what workflow sections fall into. So with that in mind, you got a workflow chart. So problem, and everybody was a COBOL programmer, back in the day, really old. Remember the flow chart and how these things work. So, but yes, there's a problem. What do you do? What's the process and the end result? So, we're flowing through our work. So, and then Michael put this little flow chart in here, and a lot of times it really is an example just like this of how we're working through these processes. So it's really interesting in trying to manage it, and it is not concise. It's not exact. And for those of you who actually man a help desk, no problem is exactly the same. The user can't describe it the same. So what are you having? Well, my computer's making a noise. What kind of noise is it making? Well, it sounds like a grinding noise. You go, and the problem is the user has his finger or a book stuck on the enter key, and it's just banging it away. So, defining the problem is always an interesting thing. So the help desk in and of itself is one of those things that really looks like this.
On the St. Louis team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third.
That's what I want to find out. I want you to tell me the names of the fellows on the St. Louis team.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third.
You know the fellows' names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yeah.
I mean the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first base.
Who is on first?
Have you got a first baseman on first?
Certainly.
Then who's playing first?
Absolutely.
And so
When you pay off the first baseman every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar. Why not? The man's entitled to it.
Who is?
Yeah.
So who gets it?
Why should he?
So, and this is kind of the some of our users, you know, just like that. So what is the problem? My computer's not working. What do you mean your computer's not working? And we go on and on and on until we actually dig down to the bottom of the problem and eventually get it solved. And you know how much time that takes. So in defining workflow, again, at the law school, it's always nebulous. It's always a question of how do we provide the best support as quickly as we possibly can with as little resources as we can use to get that done. And in a lot of cases, we get it right. There are some days we get that email from that faculty member that says, Joe is the greatest person in the world, you know, you need 10 more of them. Then you get those days, you should fire the whole department, they're just the most incompetent group in the world. And you know, and so it's a balancing act. And so we're constantly going back and forth to who's on first. And so one of the things in workflow, well, you think, well, okay, we'll create some documentation and some training and, you know, user input and all that. And this video might help us see how that would work.
All right, girls, listen carefully. This is the wrapping department.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the candy will pass by on this conveyor belt and continue into the next room where the girls will pack it. Now, your job is to take each piece of candy and wrap it in one of these papers and then put it back on the belt. You understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Let her roll! Let her roll! Wait here. Somebody's asleep at the switch.
What are you doing up here? I thought you were downstairs boxing chocolates.
Oh, they kicked me out of there fast. Why? I kept pinching them to see what kind they were. This is the fourth department I've been in. Oh, I didn't do so well either.
All right, girls. Now, this is your last chance. If one piece of candy gets past you and into the packing room unwrapped, you're fired.
Yes, ma'am.
Let her roll!
Oh, this is easier. Yeah, we can handle this okay.
That's how you felt to help us when we first get the call.
Listen, Ethel, I think this... I think we're fighting a losing game.
That's how we feel all throughout the day.
Here she comes.
So as we go throughout the day, pretty much we end up like Lucy and Ethel. We end up hiding work because we've got so much we can't get it all done, and we still have users waiting on an answer. So as we work through the problems that we encounter throughout the help desk and in classroom support, we're constantly looking for better ways to do that. And training and documentation is one of the best ways to do that. Using document. One of the things we learned here this week, so we're here, I went to the gadget session. It was a wonderful session because I found a lot of tools in there that might help us with the help desk, i.e. the flip video recorder thing, you know, because I can record a training video and provide a link so that my faculty or my staff can get to it. So I don't have to go back and show them how to find the track changes button in Microsoft Office or Word every time, or PowerPoint, every time they use it. So solutions like that. Documentation for our analysts. And for those of you who actually are at the help desk, how often do you attend a class, a help desk training class or a refocus class for the help desk? I will tell you that's the best solution is every once in a while pulling your people from the desk and sending them out. When they come back, they have new ideas, they're refreshed, they have something to say, and they understand how to deal with the problem a little bit better. It's not perfect yet, you know, because they always want more, they always want to go to Hawaii, which we don't do that. But you know, it is a process where actually giving your people a break from the desk, from the work. You know, we saw the fish from Seattle where they throw the fish across. Have you seen the video? It's a wonderful video of how they make work fun. And I think that for a successful help desk, people that are constantly confronted with problems, they're always hearing about how bad something is, a little break, making work fun is a very important thing to do. And in organizations, and I think most of you may be in the same boat that we are in, you can't give a raise. You can't give them a promotion. You can't make them chief technician. But what you can do is make their job fun. And one of the things you do, I try once a month to take my team out to lunch. We're getting closer to McDonald's. We started out at the steakhouse, and we've made it to McDonald's now. So, but I try to take them out to lunch. I also try to ask them what they think and to involve them in the process as early on as I possibly can. So when I get a project, like we have a project right now to convert from NDPS printing to ePrint Ferro's printing. And so I brought my team in, told them about the project. Who wants to be in charge? Of course, nobody raised their hands, so I had to threaten them, moving them into the front office where students sit. But eventually they bought in and they got involved in the process. And that's a very important solution to help desk, is in making your people feel important and involved and seeking their opinion. So that's helpful. So anybody remember this little conversation from a while ago? The person calls AOL, you know, and they're complaining that they can, and it was hilarious until it actually happened to me, you know, and then, you know, what's this so funny, you know? So one of the interesting things is getting people to understand your needs and their needs. I heard something this morning that was really, really interesting. It was caring about what the faculty thinks about IT. And I had never really given that a lot of thought, because the only thing I know is they ring the phone and they want somebody to come right now. It doesn't make any difference what time of day it is. It doesn't make any difference where they are. You know, I had a faculty that he's in Thailand and his computer doesn't work, and I'm supposed to come there and fix it. And of course, you know, that's impossible, and he can't let me remote in. So there, you know, it's a big thing. So, you know, I actually thought seriously this week about how do we make faculty recognize that we as IT folks are their friends and their help, and how we can make that relationship more seamless. And someone said yesterday in one of the presentations that they only get a limited amount of time with their faculty. We get as much as we want. We can go in there and spend the night in their offices because they want training and they want to know more. And creating a process where faculty feel like they can engage you at any time about anything is an incredibly important process in how you get your faculty to buy into your support. So this is a skit Michael found. The guy thinks his computer is a couple. And I had this, I didn't have a faculty member think his computer was a cup holder, but I will tell you a very funny thing happened one day. I had gone home for the day, and there was a message on the helpline, and so when there's nobody, it goes into a voicemail message, and then it rolls to someone's pager or cell phone. So a faculty member had managed to, a Dell 755, sitting underneath his desk in the back in the corner, throw a cup of coffee on his hard drive at 5:30 in the afternoon. So there's a message on the machine. My computer is on fire and I need help right now. So, you know, nobody's going there. It's after 5 o'clock. There's no one on staff. Well, eventually he calls the dean. And so eventually they called me, you know. And so he expected, one, that someone was going to be there. Two, that when he got in the next morning, he was going to have a brand new computer waiting on him with all of his files and icons and bookmarks preloaded and ready to go. Not so much. And it constantly went downhill from there, because somehow or another, the fact that his computer was in the place it was allowed him to spill coffee, and somehow we had placed his computer in the wrong place. It was, again, it was funny until I actually sat down and thought about all the things that people were yelling at me about. So, you know, it's very interesting getting people to understand how support service works. So with that, Michael.
My name is Michael Wright. I am the Web Services Manager at Duplaw, and we in the Web Services unit work a lot with the user services group. But we're pretty much, we're on our own. Oh yeah, well, I've got to stand by this anyway, so I guess I'll talk into here. We've got, we should have 4 people. We have 2 people. Now I know, I don't know what school you're from, and Duke being what it is a large, well-funded, typically, institution. So maybe 2 is more than you have, and so I apologize if that sounds a bit much. But we have a lot of requests. We have a lot of things come in, and we have somebody at our point of access, which is just an email address. It's called Web Updates. Somebody sends an email to Web Updates, and typically 75% of the time that person, our Web Updates person, can just resolve the issue there, just getting a quick update of some kind. The other 25% of the time it usually gets sent on to me, and my background is more in design and not as much in programming, and so consequently we don't really have a programmer on staff at all. My boss can do a little bit of programming. I can do just a little bit, but that obviously creates some problems. So I wanted to just, I kind of whipped up a little workflow that I thought would be indicative of a request that we would get, and that we, how I would treat it. Although it's interesting because I had never thought of it in this way, so in a visual sense. So we get a request coming in from, let's say, the dean, so it'll get done. But it obviously comes to the Web Updates email address. It's not a sophisticated system, it's just simply an email address. I have access to it, but there is somebody that's a full-time, Web Updates person. So, can they resolve it? Yes, hooray, that's as easy as it comes. They come in, they get, somebody sends an email, change the spelling of my name, done, easy enough. As I said before, they are not able to do it, so they come to me. And then let's push that to the side, and I have to decide, coming from my personal technical point of view, is a design issue or a programming issue, because for me, they really are, how we resolve these things are going to be pretty different, because some things I just simply can't do, and there being only 2 of us, there's a very limited amount of things that we can do ultimately. So is it, is it something that we can do in-house? Is it something I can do? Is it something that I can send back to Web Updates and have them do, have their job be a little bit more fun than just, putting in, change in the data? If so, once again, hooray, we've got something, we've got a solution. It might take a while, it might take a long process, that's always something that we have to determine. But like user services, we don't really say no. It's all about whether or not we can do it. If we can, then we do. It just might take more time, it might take less. If not, it's something that simply has to go on the back burner. It's not an ideal solution, but times being what they are, we don't necessarily have the resources for a better solution than that. So obviously, every time that happens, I go to my boss and say, can't we just hire somebody for this? And you know what the answer to that is. If it's a programming issue, the question really is, do we have the resources for this? Do we have the money? Do we have somebody in-house with some sort of technical ability that can do it? Can I do it? But often it is, do we have the money to farm it out to the Duke OIT, Office of Information Technology group? If so, once again, hooray! Perfect. We can do it. More likely than not, no, and that's something that really does have to go on the back burner because we just simply don't have the ability to do it. It's not a situation that we like to be in, but it's just simply something that is the situation that we're presented with, especially now. So, can we please hire somebody? And then, obviously, that is not something that we can determine on our own, so the request then goes back to the dean. If this is something you really want, can we hire somebody? And typically the answer is no. But I don't want to, I'm on camera saying that now, so I have to also say that the dean has approved some positions for us as a department, so it's not as negative as that. But that really is, that's often the solution that we're faced with, is no solution. And unfortunately, it's not, like I said, it's not a position that we like to be in. It's a position that we're sort of forced into with the available resources. But fortunately, we have a relatively simple process that we can go through. We do have access to the remedy solution that that user services uses, and that's something that we're looking at going into, you know, sort of to track projects a little bit better. But ultimately, since so many of those requests that come in are very basic, it's not something that really requires a whole ticket, a whole process just for updating an email address, changing a phone number, or even adding a page. It's a relatively simple solution. So we stick with the email address. The web updates comes in there, and we're able to just function based on that pretty well. And with that, we'll turn it over to Kim.
I have a quick question. You mentioned that you don't necessarily track everything in Remedy. So I guess my question is, do you use Remedy to justify new positions or anything? If you're not tracking everything, then how do you go about justifying new positions?
Right now, we have not. I collected the first remedy data. Like I said, I started in July, so I collected the first remedy data about a month ago when we were looking at this. So we had one of our senior technicians leave and go to another part of the university. We had a need for a full-time permanent point of contact. We did not have that. So the staff rotated at the desk, students at the desk, interns at the desk, and for our faculty, that was a little disconcerting. So what we ended up doing was started collecting this data, but the way positions are really justified is by the amount of work and things that don't get done, because as I told you, like you saw in the Lucy and Ethel video, you know, sometimes they back up, and you know, you've got, you know, 10 or 11 projects that, or even requests that are out there that haven't been done. So we justify it by just that, the fact that we haven't completed something we haven't done, and we plead our case to our dean. So when I say our dean, I don't mean the dean, I mean our dean. So we have a dean of academic technologies, and so we plead our case to him, and he then makes the decision to go forward to the dean or whomever to make the request. And we were very, very fortunate because we just got two or three positions funded just this week. So we are really, really excited about that.
And if you, I don't know if your question was for user services or the web or whatever. For us, it's the projects that do these sort of major programming projects are usually pretty high level, and so it does make some waves, so to speak, to not be able to do them, and that in and of itself is usually a pretty good justification for either farming it out or you know, hiring somebody new.
Hi, my name is Kim Wiseman, and I'm the computer services major computer geek at the University of Richmond Law School. I am the help desk at the law school at the University of Richmond. We have over 500 students, and we have about 100 faculty and staff. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how we manage our help desk. And the number one priority, and this is true for all of us I know, is great customer service. So what that means is we staff our help desk at least 70 hours a week. Monday through Thursday, the desk is staffed from 8 to 9 p.m. Fridays, it's staffed from 8 to 6 p.m. and we have hours Saturday and Sunday as well. And because I am the only one, if I'm not working the help desk, then I have staff working the help desk. I staff the desk at least 6 hours a week myself. And we rotate shifts. It just depends on schedules. I schedule people by the semester because every semester their class schedule changes. My goal is to always hire people smarter than me, and it works really, really well because it's amazing the different backgrounds that folks have that come in. I've had, exchange administrators in their past life come to work and say, great, because I don't know how to manage an exchange server. It's not my job to, but it's wonderful to have that kind of wealth of knowledge on staff. We provide the help desk service for the law school community. We're on campus, but we're in one building. The university help desk manages everybody else. And on campus, there's only 2 of us that are IS or computer people that don't belong to the IS central office. Me and the person who works for the business school. I really work for the law school. He's really funded from the business school. We have a network administrator that works part-time in our building, but she's really assigned to network services, so we have to share those resources out. If the equipment is owned by the university, we use the heat tracking system, which is similar to Remedy. The way the university tracks is remarkable. If you walk into the computer, to their help desk, and you say, I really am looking for the Coke machine, and I was told it was down this hallway, they track that. Every person and everything that walks into that door, they track everything, and I'll show you in a second how they use their system. At our help desk, though, we use the paper method, and I'm going to share with you how we track and do our tickets. Like I said, we have about 560 or so, no, 520 or so law students, and I'm just going to pass this stuff around. And like Rochelle, what we found is sometimes somebody will come up with a very quick problem, and you just fix it and off they go. It's, wireless won't connect, you repair the connection, and they're off to class. Well, it takes more time to log into a tracking system and track that stuff than it does just to fix the problem. And we're kind of the opinion that if you're not going to track everything, that tracking system isn't very useful because you really can't say how many tickets you did if you're not really tracking every ticket. And because the dean of the law school nor the associate dean that I report to cares about the statistics, I don't see the point in having to take care of the statistics. So what a student does is when they come to the help desk is they fill out one of these orange forms. And originally this was the brightest orange I could ever find, but our print services shop quits stocking the obnoxious orange, and so now we're the muted orange. But we ask the student what their name is, of course, net ID and password. Our students joined the domain. This year we're changing that, so next year I could have some very interesting things to report on how that did or did not work out well. But at the moment they do, and because a lot of problems, as you guys know, are profile specific, we need to be able to get to their machine. Other usernames and passwords, Macs are in our law school, which I'm a Mac person, so I'm happy about that. But sometimes we need their admin passwords to do things on Macs, as you guys know. Intake technician, and then the problem. And like Rochelle says, well, student comes up, my computer won't work. Well, that can mean there's a boot, So once we determine what exactly that means, we write down what that is. If the student can resolve the problem, the student assistant working the desk, or if I'm working the desk, writes down what the resolution is. If we need more information from the owner, we check that box, so when the student comes back by to check on their machine, whoever's working the desk, because we rotate folks, sometimes people have a 30-minute shift in between classes. So it could be 2 or 3 hands are on a machine before the student gets it back. And then we have a line that says, give to Kim for repair or review. That means they can't resolve it and it comes to me. And that's fine. So once that box is checked, I get the computer. If we're unable to fix it, and most unable to fixes involve hardware problems, that we can't resolve. We have both an option 1 package that students can buy into, which is a standard image machine, and those machines we can normally fix because we can always re-image those machines. But if it's a Mac or if it's another machine that the student brought with them, I don't have that image, so I can't re-image it. And then additional instructions to the computer owner. And then at the very bottom, we have a done button. And why this is important is where we stack the machines when they're either in progress of being fixed or when they're done. If somebody goes to pull it out who didn't fix the machine, it's important to know if the machine is actually done and ready to go back to the student. And this really came about when my boss one day went to go get a computer for a student, and he couldn't determine what the state was. He couldn't determine what we did to fix it or anything. So we came up with this solution, and it has worked remarkably well. It's not fancy, it's not techy, but it works. And so, you know, and this is what we do with the student machines. The faculty and staff machines, the university-owned machines and printers and all that good stuff gets in the heat tracking system. And I'll show you how that works. Like I said, these folks they're serious about tracking their data. They have both the local client for heat that terminal machines, and they also have this web access. And you have to use VPN if you're off campus to get to this. And there's probably an email in my inbox saying, you know, iHeat's down or something. It's not. And it's kind of cool. When you first log into Heat, it gives you statistics on what's going on right now. So right now at the University of Richmond, we've got 13 tickets out that are priority 1, you know, which are, you get on the Segway that they just bought and go deal with them. We won't go there. Not that I'm jealous or anything. And, you know, how can I justify a Segway when I'm in the same building? You know, and I don't know how well they go up and down the steps, so it won't work. There's 372 tickets out that are priority 2, and then there's 110 that are priority 3, and right now there's no priority 4 tickets out. And so it's broken out in little graphs. So at any given time, if the Vice President for Information Services wants to know what the heck is going on, they know what the heck is going on, which is really nice. So if you wanted to set up a new call record, they've got things broken down into classroom, customer equipment, or image. And they use this with secondary machines. We rotate every 3 years our machines, and once they're done with being a primary machine, they become a secondary machine, and they get placed in places like student offices, and like we've got them in the library. A couple of our administrative assistants have student assistants that help with computer work, and they'll get a secondary machine for the students to be able to use it. So we're going to log in a customer, and I'm going to create myself a ticket. And so the incident is, you know, what's going on. If somebody will get this ticket and go, isn't she in Boulder or something? And the call type, it's a drop-down menu. Was it, you know, is it an email issue, is it a hardware issue, is it a networking issue? And I'm going to say it's hardware. Category, it's a break fix, change, management, general request, or install hardware. We're going to say it's a break. Cause, equipment failure. And then over here, type, you know, is it a Linux box, you know, Mac or a PC? I'm feeling like I don't know what I have. What's funny is the source here one of our categories is mugging. So this is when you're in the parking lot, you're walking in your car. You guys have all been mugged before. You're in the hallway, you're just trying really hard to go get that cup of coffee. Or, you know, my favorite thing is when I'm actually up in faculty offices and I get seen. Kim's in the hallway, oh my God. So that's what a mugging is. And I usually choose mugging just because I think it's funny. You know, if I was mugged or not, I usually do that anyway. So then, if you want to add details, all of our equipment is tagged with asset tag numbers. So if you knew the asset tag and typed it in there, it would tell you what kind of equipment it is, which is nice. The assignment, we have all kinds of assignments. Some of these, for any student assistant, these are folks that work for the university. Electronica is our vendor that we buy our equipment from. We have a separate category for Electronica Law Student because the students who do opt to buy into the package actually buys their computer through them and they do all the servicing and they're right on campus. So if I were to assign the ticket, and I'm going to assign it to the help desk manager. I think I need to make it. Let's see. Actually, I'll take on Ellis. I want to go with that. So the ticket gets assigned to Ellis. His phone number's here. His pager's here. And as soon as I hit save this ticket, Ellis is going to get a page. And he's going to be able to bring up the ticket and see what's going on. Ellis and I have a wonderful rapport. If any law students or law faculty and staff get to him before me first, he calls and says, "There's one of my dogs on his lawn." So when I see his name come up on caller ID, I'm like, oh no. So that's essentially how it works. In this mode, you can't do reporting and stuff, but on the full-fledged version, you can pull all kinds of different reports that show all kinds of different things. In the journal part here, you can record how you fix things, which is wonderfully nice. We've also played with the idea of having kind of a searchable knowledge base. You know, when someone fixes a problem, how did you fix it, kind of thing. And this software will kind of sort of do it, but we've yet to find a great product that will do it. And the time spent developing an Access database is, you know, really difficult. So if any of you guys have done something like that, you can probably make a hell of a lot of money selling that, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people that would love to see that. So that's kind of our scanning on how we do things. We also have a multimedia technician, Carl, who's sitting in the back. We got him 2 years ago, and he's been hitting those streaks ever since. Has camera, will travel, and off he goes. So, yes, sir.
How do you maintain control of muggings or what we call drive-bys?
We don't. I mean, it took me 30 minutes to get to my office the other day because I had 3 muggings. You know, I parked the car and somebody was waiting on me, and I walked down the hallway and somebody, I mean, it literally, you know, I had my bags and stuff with me, and I know, or my favorite is when a student's just standing by the door waiting for me to get there, and you know, and it's like, it's 8 o'clock, guys, let me just at least get coffee, please, just let me get coffee. But it doesn't happen too often, I mean, you know, which is nice. So, and mostly it's phone calls or emails, so it's not too bad. Yes, sir.
Hi, how do you handle those requests that actually end up turning into projects and loiter around in your request tracking system? I was just thinking of an example where someone says, well, I'm having trouble scanning, and you go and visit, you know, administrative assistant, they actually don't have a scanner, and it turns into a process of, you know, buying them software, buying them a scanner, figuring out the best way to do it for the law school, and the request just stays open forever because it takes time to do all that.
Well, and I think something like equipment purchase ends up being a priority 4. So if it shows up, then it's not a big old red flag like, why is this priority 1 ticket still open? Right. I don't, in the database, they spend a lot of time determining what category, and what most things fall into is a category 2. And, you know, like I've got a printer that I can't fix, and I've had to put a ticket in for someone to come over. It's always that day, or if it's late in the day, it's the next morning that somebody comes over, even for the priority 2. Once in a blue moon, we have an issue. In fact, recently, a staff person spilled water on her keyboard, and didn't realize that was a bad thing until the next day when our computer didn't boot. And fortunately, it didn't damage the hard drive, but it took it a couple of weeks to get her original machine back to her. And it really shouldn't have taken that long. But it got put into this system here, so, and kind of the bad thing is, once it kind of gets into this system, I don't then have much control over it, unless I'm calling and following up on things, and that kind of stinks.
Does it issue a ticket number to the user when you put it in?
They don't usually know the ticket number. They don't, the only people who care about those ticket numbers normally are our vendors, because that's how they get paid. I have a favorite printer repair person in Richmond, and so when I call in the ticket to him, I give him the ticket number, and when he's done, he goes by the help desk and has them close it, and that's how he gets paid.
Yeah, ours, we use Track It. It emails back to the user, the requester, the ticket number, so that if something doesn't happen in a couple of days or so, then they can call back.
They can call back. Well, if they call back with their net ID, it's the same thing that gets done. Yes, sir.
I saw your little sheet with the password.
Oh, thank you for reminding me.
I was really surprised to see that, because we try to get our users to not give us their password.
Well, it's either give us our password, or they're gonna sit there while we clean the malware off their machine for 4 hours.
Oh, you mean like their local password for the PC?
And if they're on the domain, then that's your university password.
So you don't have like tech
that would
login, an admin login on all the PCs?
A lot of times, if it's malware, it's specific to their profile to fix it. You can run you can run software on some profiles and it doesn't pick it up. How we resolve the issue is, once we're done logging in with their password, we have the black Sharpie method, and we literally mark out all those things. And the sheet gets taped to the machine, and it gets given back to the user. So they get that sheet of paper back, and they get their stuff back. We've never had an issue with it. We've been doing this for years, 8 years.
There's not like a campus-wide policy of, doesn't matter what kind of user you are, you should not be using any other user account.
I'm an administrator on every machine. I mean, I can log into any machine, it doesn't matter, and I'm an administrator to it, including the student machines, because I'm in that admin group that can log in anywhere. But what we found is that the problems are sometimes, I can log in with my password and everything works just fine. It's specific to that profile.
We don't have a laptop requirement in our school, we're from law school, so they'll bring us the computer, we don't know their password, and they don't want to stick around while it's fixed.
I don't want them to either, a lot of times.
We don't want them to. We want to order them in the order we think is the fastest to get them out the door. And so we will also ask them to write down their password, and we just built a disclaimer into the top of our document about it. It's their password, it's not the school's. In that case, it's not the school's password, it's their local machine password.
Yeah, it stinks. I mean, it stinks. But I have no idea how to, I'd love to hear ideas about how to go about that without having the person sit there and they're on their way to class. They're not happy anyway. We don't see happy customers normally.
Until they leave.
Until they leave. They're mad anyway, and they're disgusted, and they've got a paper due in 3 hours, and they can't believe that, they have a laptop requirement after spending $30,000 in the school here, and you guys know it, it's the same thing. So, and frankly, we get it more done without the user sitting there and asking us, why did you do that? Well, what are you doing that for? And I appreciate the fact that they want to learn things. And so when they get the machine back, that's hopefully our teaching. It's like, these are the programs that we ran. Malware works really well with cleaning spyware, and that's 90% of what we do is clean spyware on machines, frankly. And it's on your machine now. This is how you use it. Use it once a week, and maybe you won't have this problem anymore.
I can definitely see the benefits of that. I was just surprised, because we have a user that comes in at 5 to 5:30 p.m. and works till 2 a.m. And without his password, we can't get on his profile unless he decides to come in early so we can help him. But I just thought there might be some campus-wide policy that would, because we would have that.
Now, I'm sure the university, they have the monkey, I don't speak about what Kim does over at the law school, because I don't don't know that they collect that information from their users, but I don't know, again, how they're gonna fix it. But you know what they do? They make the undergrads sit there. And they don't care if you've got a class. Oh, you got class, we'll come back when you have time to sit.
If they're on
And that's
the
how they do
domain,
it.
you could force them to change their password.
Right.
Well, and we give them directions on how to do that. You know, if you wanna change it, this is the website to go do it. And, you know, and it's the same with the faculty. If I have to go into faculty's, we had a user just this week, she had been traveling and couldn't use, something about Internet Explorer at a hotel, and they had put in proxy server. I knew what the problem was by the way she described it, but I needed the machine to do it, and she didn't want to sit there and wait for me. And if I opened up Internet Explorer into my profile, the proxy settings weren't there, so I couldn't fix that. So I had to have her passwords.
Yeah, something we just started experimenting with, we went in collaboration with a couple of colleges at our university, is a remote access, a remote support program called BombGuard, which allows us to have the user connect, and it's like make a VNC connection, and then we can drive their cursor around. And that way, if they're remotely, we've helped people all over the country, we can see the problem, we can make changes, and they can either watch or just walk
And I
away.
guess we could do that, but what's interesting is the students always come to us, not the faculty though.
Right.
And one of the programs that we have is this mobile technician program. And what we do is twice a week, either, I usually send a student assistant, sometimes I do it. If the student assistant's doing it, then I just man the desk when they're gone. And they physically knock on doors, the faculty's doors. And, you know, and I've also said to faculty, if you don't want the student knocking on your door, that's okay too. And I get these, you know, oh, what a great program. Tell Brittany she doesn't have to stop by my office, you know, which is fine. But, and at that point, the faculty's sitting right there. We don't have to have their passwords. You know, we can help them do whatever it is that they're doing. And if I'm going to their office, it's not, you know, they're sitting there. They're not going to go anywhere. But it's the students that we mostly use this form for anyway, not the faculty. Yes. Yep. It's instead of trying, you know, always having them come to us, we're trying to push out a little bit and come to them. And what we learned about that is part of my job also with software training is learning what, you know, I invent things that I think people might think is fun to learn about, you know, and sometimes I'm on target, and sometimes I'm way off target. And one of the things, the spring that came about is, in Word 2007, how you do table of contents is really different than how you had to do it in any previous version of Word, because, you know, that's what Microsoft does to us. So we did training sessions on how to do table of contents, and we had a fair number of faculty come. Of course, we fed them too. But 20, do we have like 20 people?
20 people.
Yeah, that came for that. And we demoed that. Carl demoed using Turning Point software as well. And I forgot we had a third thing as well.
RSS feeds.
Yeah.
And there was one more, but just stuff that faculty can take and run with.
Yeah. So it worked out, and that's how we knew to do that. I mean, we wouldn't have known to do that otherwise. And we didn't know that our administrative assistants were physically sitting there typing tables of contents and, you know, putting leading dots in the whole. And it came, somebody called one day and said, how do you do leading dots? So I answered the question, but I was like, well, what are you doing? And they're like, well, we've got all these tables of contents to do. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's an easier way to do that than this. So.
Do they go by weekly?
Now, this summer we're not doing it, and this summer I'm only budgeted to staff 20 hours a week, I think. 5, 10. Yeah, I've only got 20 hours a week in student support. Library closes at 6 o'clock anyway. We don't have weekend support, so we don't do it during the summertime. And I'm manning the desk half of my time, which is actually kind of, you know, I hate to say it, and you're going to probably pull out your chair, but sometimes manning the desk is kind of fun. You know, I mean, I hear about this stuff sometimes later on, but sometimes it is kind of, you know, sit there and really figure out what's going on. And we also have some of the students and some of the faculty and staff that won't talk to anybody but me. You know, they'll just bypass whoever's working the help desk. My office physically is right behind the desk, and they'll just walk around and come in. You know, well, my
you do any kind of performance reviews of your students?
Yep, we do. And it's a standard form. We do it once a year. Our students make really good money. Our students make, I think this fall, starting wage is close to $10 an hour. And in the summertime, they get a $3 an hour more because we had trouble staffing during the summertime. University of Richmond is a small private school, and employment for summer isn't always these students' thing. And of course, in the law school, they're trying really hard to get law jobs and not working with help desk. So as an incentive, university, so I think right now my students are making $13 an hour, and a lot of times just putting paper in printers, what they're mainly doing.
I like what Rochelle, I like what you were saying about building a good rapport with your student workers, even though you can't necessarily give them raises, you take them out for lunch. I think that's a really good way to sort of build a good general attitude with them.
And I try to do that like once a semester. In fact, after orientation last year, it was kind of rough. Students came in with machines that didn't have the right operating systems on it. We're supporting right now 4 different operating systems: Tiger, Leopard, XP, and Vista. And we're saying no to Linux. I mean, 4 is enough, And so last orientation, my student assistants who were working during orientation actually worked till like almost 9 o'clock at night, helping the incoming students be ready for the next day so they got behind the 8 ball, even though they didn't follow any of the instructions that we sent all summer as to what they needed to do before they got there. And so I took them out for beers, and they really appreciated that. And it's all boys, and I was really afraid they were eating outhouse on home, but they didn't, so that was good. But I think they appreciate it,
You're seeing a lot more Macs now too, right?
We're seeing a lot more Macs. The first year we offered Macs, which was 4 years ago, I think we only had 12. The second year we had like 18. And last year, I think we had 45 or so. And I suspect, the new Macs are out. They're doing the iPod giveaway again this year. And we just bought 5 of these little netbooks a few weeks ago. And we did that. I think we're going to see a lot of those this fall as well. So, and we're kind of hybrid where, about a third of the students will either go through and buy our package, but 2/3 will bring something else. So, we try to do a bit.
Do you support student computers that aren't part of the package?
Yep. And those are the ones I see the most.
Yeah.
The 500, and you heard this yesterday, but the $500 HP, I could strangle HP for putting that machine. Oh, I went to Best Buy. Oh my God, I got this deal, and I just start crying. I'm sorry. You're gonna hate life.
What faculty have come to me of those deals, I've actually offered to make up the difference for the I know I'll save that much in support down the road.
That's no kidding.
A few have taken me up on that.
Oh.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It'd be thousands of dollars of a cheap machine.
Oh my gosh. And you know what? If you're buying them for home use, they're fine because you're not moving them. But the way our students carry those suckers around, oh my gosh, they make me very sad. And they're so happy, and it's such a shiny, pretty machine. And everyone looks so pleased, and I'm just like, oh. And I was like, please tell me at least you bought the extended warranty. Oh no, Great. That's great.
So I wanted to skip, before we ended, and we are running out of time, but I wanted to give you some solutions that work, that we found to work. And if you bring up if you'll email me, we have a cheat sheet that we keep at the desk of things that we do. So remote access, either using Windows or using Novell. But a lot of solutions we found is shortcut. And because we haven't created an SLA, it is very important to have real things that work. So when you get a machine, so we have a loaner program for students to come in. We have a process in which we wipe those machines, and so we've got a quick and dirty solution to that. So it would be really helpful if you really want to know more about how we do that. If you email us, and I'll send you what we have. It's a great solution. Thank you all.
Thank you.